Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Quality Counts webinar discussing Bluetooth and origin destination studies. My name is Roxy Booth, and I work on QC's marketing team, and I'll be your host today. On the right-hand side, you'll see a chat box. If you have any questions throughout the webinar presentation, feel free to use this as a parking lot. And then at the end of the presentation, we will answer all the questions that were listed here. As well, during Q&A, we can continue to roll through any questions that come in at the end. If for some reason you don't see the chat box on the right-hand side, you can just click on the chat icon at the bottom of your screen and it should come up. We're excited to have Noah Smith be our presenter today and share with us a variety of methods and example projects for Bluetooth and origin destination studies. So passing it off to you, Noah.
Great, thank you, Roxy. Can you just confirm you can hear my voice?
Yep, you sound great.
Perfect. Well, again, welcome everyone to another installment of our transportation data webinar series. Our previous webinars are available online. You can go to our website to check those out, qualitycounts.net. We've got stuff up on our horizontal curve assessment capabilities, ADA ramp compliance, parking studies, drones, lots of cool stuff. So you can head over to qualitycounts.net to check those out. We have been in business since 2003. We've got offices in 10 states, and we've got count partners in most of the other states, so we can get you covered wherever you need data collected. We are proud to be 68% employee owned as well. That number is growing every year. And we are a full service data collection firm. We want you to think of us as consultants, not just collectors. As you can see by this slide, we've got a lot of experience. So if you need help scoping or testing out different methodologies on complex projects, we are here for you. And just a quick look at our equipment on the left and our network of partner companies on the right, just to kind of emphasize the wide array of data mediums that we're capable of collecting and really attacking whatever problems you need us to help with. The topic today is Bluetooth studies. We're going to focus on that, but first we're going to just quickly put that in the context of the other kind of options that you're going to have when you're looking at an origin destination or a travel time survey, because we believe the collection medium, the data that you use, has to be tailored to the scope of the project, not the other way around. So with Bluetooth, you're going to get real-time roadway conditions. A big part of all of our data is we love to be transparent, so you're going to get access to all the raw data. You are limited by the fleet size, the number of detectors that you're going to put out into the field, and the Bluetooth collection does not have, you can't separate, heavies versus passenger vehicles, anything like that. Floating car runs is where you have a GPS device inside of a car, and you're just driving up and down the survey area. You're going to get GPS and time-stamped speed points all the way along the corridor. So you got a really high level of detail, but obviously you're limited by manpower, by the number of vehicles and drivers you can have out on the road at any given time. Another option would be automated license plate recognition, where we set cameras out, get them zoomed in on each lane so that we can capture the plates of all the vehicles. This is great because you're going to get 100% sample size. We're going to capture every single plate at each one of the origin destination points, and you do obviously get all of that raw data in addition to any summary work that we do for you. But due to just the sheer volume of reduction that's involved, that can be a bit cost prohibitive, and obviously in the middle of the night it's hard for the cameras to see the plates. And the last option we have here, we partner with Streetlight Data to provide a big data option for origin destination surveys. This is great on really small or really large survey areas where detectors, Bluetooth detectors or cameras might not be your best option. This is great because it's a quick turnaround time. It's just sitting on the internet and setting up the project. There's no field work needed, but you are going to get a much lower sample size and you're not going to get individual trip data here. You just get the summary tables. You kind of have to take their word for it on what you're looking at. So with that, we will move into our more focused look at Bluetooth data collection. Our units are battery powered, and we set them out with solar panels so that they can be out for a week, 2 weeks at a time without having to be recharged. You've got the Bluetooth antennas for the detection, and you've got cellular antennas so that the devices can connect to the network and upload their data throughout the course of the project. You don't have to wait until the end of the project to see the results. You can actually monitor it as it comes in. A lot of agencies, of course, do use permanent installation of Bluetooth detectors to monitor traffic, but our fleet is actually mobile. So we're able to basically set up units wherever you need them for a week or two at a time. It's quick and easy deployments. It's basically the same thing as setting up one of our cameras. So when we're doing a Bluetooth study, we're capturing MAC addresses, media access control addresses, from Bluetooth devices, watches, smartphones, tablets, vehicles. And a few years ago, you can see down here on the left, our equipment was only capturing Bluetooth Classic. And that was meaning only devices that are in active pairing mode. And we did that to respect people's privacy and say, if you're walking down the street with your phone connected to your headset and they're paired and you're just using them, we're not gonna, the technology of Bluetooth Classic is, we're gonna leave that alone. But when Bluetooth Low Energy came out, we're gonna refer to that as BLE from now on. It's a mouthful to say. So BLE is actually always advertising. And with this, when we've upgraded our fleet to allow for BLE detection, that gives us a much higher sample size. These numbers are from a test project that we set up near our office in Oregon, where we filmed a roadway and did traffic counts there and compared those to our Bluetooth captures. And we got, as you can see here, 29% versus 2%. It's a really big jump. So when you're doing these studies, you're going to get a much larger sample size, even than we would have, a couple of years ago. Wi-Fi on the right, our boxes have the capability to detect Wi-Fi, but it's really the least spatially accurate of these three data types. So we tend to just disable that just because the data isn't particularly useful that we found, but we are more than happy to turn that feature on any studies. It's up to you. So our standard collection time frame is 1 week. It's going to give you multiple midweek and weekend days. You like to have that multiple days available to look at. Even with the higher sample sizes, it's good to have multiple midweek days to look at. And of course, if you're doing some kind of special event where it's, you're monitoring what's traffic like on a typical day versus when this baseball game is in session, we can work with you on that. We're more than happy to customize the time frame. But the standard is we like to have the units out there for a week. So no two studies are exactly the same. We like to take a really detailed look at every origin destination or travel time study that comes our way. We get multiple eyes on that just because the planning is important here. We have to make sure that there's good poles available to put the units on that won't get interference or they're not too far from the roadway. We want to confirm that Bluetooth is actually the best medium for the project based on the end results that you're looking for, and obviously offer alternatives if Bluetooth is maybe not the best option. And here we're looking at some strengths of the technology. As I mentioned, the sample size using Bluetooth Low Energy is light years above and beyond what it used to be even a couple of years ago. You're going to get current on-the-ground conditions. With big data, you have to wait for that data to get pulled by the aggregator companies and then transferred over to the big data folks. You're looking at maybe 2-3 weeks in the past, the earliest you're going to get. With Bluetooth, you know what's happening right now. And of course, throughout all of our mediums, whenever we're delivering stuff, we love to have data that's verifiable. We want to give you access to all the raw detection data when you do a Bluetooth study with us. A couple caveats before we move on. I mentioned before, there's no vehicle classification on these studies. You're not going to be able to pull passenger vehicles versus heavies or anything like that. And the individual detectors are not providing directional data. All that they have is a signal strength indicator. The direction is inferred when you have the same MAC address being picked up by multiple detectors. That's how you can tell which direction people are traveling. So on a detector by detector basis, there's no directional data being collected. Again, it's that direction is strung together in a trip as a device passes through the survey area. So the first common type of study that we do is an origin destination study. And for the purposes of our cloud portal that does all the back-end processing after the data is uploaded from each individual detector, the origin is essentially the first detector that any given MAC address is picked up at. And then the destination is going to display as the last detector that a MAC address is picked up at. And it's important to note that, if you have 5 different detectors, the first and last, it doesn't matter if they hit every other detector in between or if they just go straight from one to the other and that's it. The origin and destination are what you're going to get displayed. You can export the raw trajectories and the trip-by-trip data to see exactly which detectors each MAC address was picked up at. But in terms of this sample report on the left here, this is literally just the first box that it was picked up at, and then the second box as in detector, Bluetooth detector. You get the number of trips, you get the relative percentages of those trips, and then you have all these filters that you can play with, time of day, how you want to display the data, what interval, and even day of the week. And you can use the travel time to filter out any outliers in your data. Cloud Portal is very flexible, very user-friendly. Second type we're going to mostly be seeing is travel time, a little more straightforward than origin destination. This is just going to give you a travel time between 2 different detectors. Or if you've got a longer stretch of roadway, travel time between a string of different detectors. You also get the speed between the 2 detectors. And it's important to note here that with these Bluetooth surveys, we don't know the behavior of the vehicle in this area when it's driving between the detectors. We're just saying it was detected here, and then 20 minutes later it was detected here. We know the distance between the detectors, so we're just going to divide that distance by the time to give you an average speed. It's not a point-by-point speed. It's just an average based on the travel time between the 2 different detectors. On the left, we've got an example of travel time data between 2 boxes over the course of a day. And here on the right is kind of the summary table that you get. This is displaying in hour intervals. You can bring that down to 30 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on how detailed you want to get. And for each one of those intervals, you're going to get the total matches between the 2 detectors. You're going to get the average time and the average speed. And in the portal, you can actually tweak that to display the median time and speed as well. You can toggle back and forth between displaying the mean and the median. You also get the standard summary statistics. So a few examples. Example number 1, this is a project a couple years back where some repaving was taking place on Interstate 5 in Oregon. And ODOT wanted to monitor the travel times while this repaving was going on. And you can see here on the right, the travel time spiked over here in the evening when the lanes are being shut down. So they were monitoring the impact of one lane, multiple lanes being shut down as this repaving was taking place. Second example, And this is a great reason to deploy our temporary deployments, our mobile deployments, for before and after studies. What you're seeing here is some high impact corridors in Florida, where we would do a week of collection prior to and a week of collection after signal timing adjustments had taken place to monitor the health of those corridors. And again, with our mobile deployments, we can literally just get a nice fast deployment, fast turnaround time, efficient data collection. We can get this diagnosed quickly and easily. And our third example was a cut-through study out here in California, Northern California. This client was basically our origin destination points are in the northeast corner and the southwest corner, and people traveling back and forth across this area. We wanted to see like what's the relative volume of the different routes that people are taking when they're driving this corridor. And this study emphasizes what I mentioned earlier, where we don't 100% know for sure what people are doing between these two detectors. What we do with these Bluetooth studies is we're basically choosing acceptable parameters of hit sequences to assign those to approximate routes through the survey area and see where people are cutting through, what routes they're using. So this survey, we're on a pretty tight budget. So you can see here we delivered the blue and the red route together. If we would have had the budget for one more detector, we could have separated those. But the client decided to just go with this number of detectors. So we were able to deliver the blue and the red approximations as one row. And you can see here, 48% of folks traveling eastbound use this straightforward yellow corridor. 66% of the westbound folks were using this yellow corridor. So this was by far the most highly trafficked pair or sequence that we were looking at. So when we're looking at delivery here, most of these screen caps were taken from the cloud portal itself. Basically, if you want to know how to use that and generate reports and parse through the data yourself, that's just a quick tutorial via screen share. It's literally 10 or 15 minutes. Most people just get them on their feet really quick, and it's pretty straightforward and intuitive. And also, we're more than happy to go in there and dig through the data and create any custom reports that you need as well. Like this last example, we went in and we basically isolated all the trips based on the hit sequences and made this custom deliverable. So as with all of our other data mediums, it can be as involved or as customized as you'd like. Again, the end product is really we always keep that in mind as far as what's the most appropriate data medium that will fit your project specifically. And with that will bring us to the end of a presentation today. Roxy, did we have any questions?
Yeah, so far we've only had one roll in. So guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to put them into the chat or the Q&A box and send them on over. But the first one we have here is, how do you filter multiple inputs captured from the same vehicle? Say from the vehicle, the passenger's devices, etc. How do you filter out if there's multiple inputs?
So that is not something that this system filters out. And that is obviously something to bear in mind. If you have one car with an entire family and they all have Bluetooth enabled devices, all those devices will count towards the total. And the only thing to bear in mind about that is, that's going to be across all of the data that's collected. So that is there. It's not part of the filtering process at this point, but that is something that we do have on the list for future upgrades or iterations of the cloud portal to put that in on the back end. Okay, gotcha.
And then is there an extra cost for accessing the cloud portal?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. That's built in. And again, it's up to you. You can be as active on it. You can check it as the data streams in through the day, or you can just peek at it at the very end, or you can just leave it up to us and say, hey, here's my Excel template, put the data in here for me. You never have to open it up. That's included. And it's also included for us to show you how to use it. We're not just going to give you a username and password and say, figure it out. None of that is any extra cost. That's all built in. The support and the tutorial as well.
Yeah. So, and then another question, how do we leverage streetlight data services through QC?
So we're using the same Insight platform that any user or customer of Streetlight would use. The bonus that you get with us is you don't really care to get as involved in setting up the project. You just want to say, hey, here's my scope, set this up in Streetlight and send me the data. What you get when you use us is our experience and our expertise using their system. That's where the bonus comes in of using us. Is you don't have to learn the system necessarily. We can show you what the data looks like. We can help you manage it after the fact and teach you how to filter those enormous data tables that they export from their site. So yeah, it's our expertise in using their portal is what you get when you do it through us.
Okay, very nice. And then another question says, what about QC ? In high pedestrian areas, could trips along the sidewalk be confused with vehicle trips?
So the travel time, let me go back to this slide because it'll help shine some light on this. So your travel time trips, and this same filter over here on the right applies to origin destination as well. So when you are looking at trips on the cloud portal, you have a minimum and a maximum trip time that you're allowing the system to look at. So if you have, say, a bridge that's half a mile across, what you can do to filter out those pedestrian trips is just say, make my maximum trip 5 minutes, or 3 minutes, whatever seems appropriate. So it's really using the minimum and the maximum travel time thresholds when you're displaying your data. That's how you would filter out those pedestrian trips.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you're looking at pedestrian heavy areas, because the detectors are not going to know what's the pedestrian and what's the car. You're able to filter your trip times to like what's a reasonable trip time for a vehicle on this segment, and I'll set that with my filter, and that will make it so that those pedestrian trips will be hidden, will not display in the data.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And back to the Streetlight conversation, will the owner need to have a direct account with Streetlight if they're using Quality Count services?
No, we use our account. We export the data, and we give you the data. So that is, you don't have to sign up. And you don't have to sign up for one if you do a project to us. That's another benefit is we have an account. We can run the project. We'll give you the data. You never have to even go onto their site.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, it looks like that's all the questions we have. If anyone has any more questions or comments or future topic ideas, feel free to send us any feedback at info@qualitycounts.net. Thanks so much for joining us today. Also, we have recorded this webinar today, and if you'd like to reference it or send it to colleagues or friends that you think it would be useful for, it will be posted on our website by the end of the week, and we'll also send a link to the recording for everyone who attended today. So hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week, and thanks again for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.